In Hollywood, relationships are never just relationships. They're headlines, speculation, body language analysis, and ring finger zoom-ins. When three of the most talked about actors on the planet, Timothée Chalamet, Tom Cruise, and Tom Holland, become the center of engagement rumors, the internet goes into overdrive. But what's actually real? Who is truly heading toward marriage? And who is being pushed there by public imagination? Let's slow down the noise and look at what's really happening with these three very different men at very different stages of life, navigating fame, love, and commitment in radically different ways. Tom Holland and Zendaya, when privacy finally gave way to reality. Tom Holland and Zendaya are not just a celebrity couple, they're a generational symbol. From the moment audiences saw their chemistry on screen, fans hoped the connection was real. When it finally was confirmed, the couple chose a path few celebrities managed to maintain: genuine privacy. That privacy is exactly why the engagement revelation felt so powerful. For years, Holland and Zendaya avoided oversharing. No dramatic announcements, no staged interviews, no public proposals designed for cameras. Instead, they built a relationship quietly, growing from co-stars into best friends and eventually partners who trusted each other deeply. When engagement rumors began swirling, it wasn't because of a press release. It was because Zendaya appeared wearing a ring, calm, unbothered, and unexplanatory. That single image said more than any statement ever could. What makes their engagement compelling isn't just the romance, it's the maturity. Both actors are at the height of their careers, yet neither appears rushed. There's no pressure to immediately plan a massive wedding or turn the moment into a media circus. They seem content letting the engagement exist as something theirs first, not the public's. Their story represents a rare thing in modern Hollywood, a relationship that matured before it was marketed. If and when they marry, it will likely be on their own terms, understated, intentional, and deeply personal. Timothée Chalamet, love without labels. Timothée Chalamet's romantic life has always existed in a strange space between fascination and mystery. Unlike many of his peers, Chalamet has never leaned into celebrity romance as part of his public identity. Even now, while dating one of the most famous women in the world, he remains deeply guarded. His relationship with Kylie Jenner has been scrutinized from the start. Some doubted its authenticity. Others assumed it was a short-term headline pairing. Yet time has done something unexpected. It's quieted the noise. The longer the relationship has lasted, the less spectacle it has become. There is no confirmed engagement, no ring moment, no public declaration. And that absence is important. Chalamet seems to be operating on a different timeline, one where commitment isn't measured by announcements but by consistency. In interviews, he has spoken cautiously about the future, hinting at growth, responsibility, and eventually building something meaningful, but never on demand, never to satisfy public curiosity. That restraint speaks volumes. Marriage may come, it may not. What's clear is that Chalamet does not treat relationships as milestones to check off. His approach feels exploratory rather than performative. In an industry that rewards spectacle, he's chosen emotional ambiguity, and that makes his next step impossible to predict, which ironically makes the public even more obsessed. Tom Cruise, the eternal enigma of commitment. Tom Cruise occupies an entirely different category of celebrity. He's not just famous, he's a living institution. And with that status comes a long, complicated history with love, marriage, and scrutiny. Cruise has been married multiple times. Each marriage was high profile. Each ended under intense public attention. Since then, his personal life has become increasingly opaque. Recent rumors linking him to various actresses sparked familiar questions. Is Tom Cruise ready to marry again? Has he finally found the one? But unlike his earlier years, Cruise no longer engages with speculation. He doesn't confirm, deny, or explain. That silence is deliberate. At this stage in his life, Cruise appears deeply focused on legacy, not romance. His energy is poured into filmmaking, stunts, production, and control over his creative empire. Relationships, if they exist, remain secondary and fiercely protected. The idea of Cruise entering another public marriage feels increasingly unlikely, not because he's incapable of love, but because he's already lived through the consequences of turning love into a spectacle. If he ever chooses marriage again, it will almost certainly be invisible until it's unavoidable. And even then, it won't look like the Hollywood unions of his past. Why engagement rumors explode so easily? The reason these three stories feel connected isn't because the men are similar, it's because the audience projects the same expectation onto all of them: marriage as an endpoint. In reality, engagement means wildly different things depending on age, experience, and emotional context. For Holland, engagement feels like a natural progression after years of shared growth. For Chalamet, it feels premature, a label that could disrupt something still unfolding. For Cruise, it feels like a chapter already written, closed, and learned from. Yet the internet treats them the same. A ring sighting becomes a confirmation. A shared dinner becomes a proposal rumor. A paparazzi walk becomes a wedding forecast. Engagement speculation isn't about evidence, it's about desire. Fans want closure. They want certainty. They want stories to resolve. But real relationships don't follow narrative arcs. They evolve quietly, messily, and often without dramatic turning points. Marriage in modern Hollywood isn't what it used to be. There was a time when celebrity marriage was the ultimate symbol of success, a fairy tale ending that confirmed someone had made it. That era is gone. Today's stars are more cautious. They've watched marriages implode under public pressure. They've seen intimacy turned into content. They've learned that legal commitment doesn't equal emotional security. That's why modern engagements, when they happen, tend to be quieter, slower, and less performative. Holland and Zendaya reflect this shift perfectly. Their engagement feels less like a public declaration and more like a personal checkpoint. Chalamet embodies a generation that questions whether marriage is even necessary at all. Cruise represents the long-term cost of doing it too publicly, too often. These aren't failures of romance, they're adaptations, what the future might hold. So where does this leave us? Tom Holland and Zendaya are clearly building towards something lasting. Whether that becomes a wedding next year or 5 years from now almost doesn't matter. The foundation is already there. Timothée Chalamet's future is intentionally undefined. He may surprise everyone with a sudden engagement, or he may never marry at all. Either outcome would align with how deliberately he navigates his life. Tom Cruise is the wild card. Not because he's unpredictable, but because he's deeply consistent in protecting himself now. If love exists in his life, it exists off-camera. The bigger truth behind the obsession. Ultimately, the obsession with celebrity engagements says less about the celebrities and more about us. We look to famous relationships as mirrors, hoping to see reassurance, permanence, and meaning reflected back. Engagements feel like proof that love survives fame, pressure, and chaos. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. What matters isn't whether these men marry, but whether they're choosing their paths consciously. And in all three cases, that answer appears to be yes, which might be the most honest love story Hollywood has to offer right now.